Thus spoke Vairocana. 2. Of young men. Vairocana took notice that one of his brightest and the most promising young adepts was beginning to avoid him. One evening, while walking alone through the mountainside overlooking a serene valley town, he found the young man leaning against a tree and looking forlornly down into the deep valley below. Vairocana approached and suddenly gripped a branch of the tree beside which his young adept was leaning and spoke thus. If it wanted to shake this tree to its roots, it would be unable to move. But your own thoughts, which you cannot see, will empower it to act on your command. Thus what the mind focuses on can become the unseen hands that bend and torment us the most. At the sound of Vairocana's voice, the young man arose in confusion and said, "I hear Vairocana, and I was just thinking of him." Vairocana replied, "Why should that trouble you? But yet it is the same with young men as it is with this tree. The more he aspires to the height and light of the unborn, the more readily and compellingly do his roots shoot downward, into the deep and dark recesses of samsara." "Yes, into samsara," cried out the young man. "How is it possible that you can see into my very soul?" Vairocana smiled and said, "There are many souls one will never see, unless one invents them first." "Yes, into samsara," cried the young man once more. "You speak the truth, Vairocana. Ever since I have delved deeper into the dramatic Dharma heights of your teachings, I can no longer trust the self I once knew. Why did this have to happen? When I am in the heights, contemplating the nature of the unborn mind, I always find myself so alone. My friends have started to shun me, while the icy cold of solitude has created a loneliness that makes me shiver. What, after all, do I want to find in the lofty heights of the unborn? My growing contempt for my present path alarms me, and yet at the same time the desire to remain true to its truth pulls at me. And yet, my growing weakness appears to be winning the day, and I am beginning to grow weary of dwelling in the heights and would much prefer to respond to that deep yearning for the tender warmth of the valley below, rather than remain in the terrible aloneness of these heights." At that the young man fell silent. Vairocana contemplated the tree beside which they were standing and spoke thus. "This tree stands alone here in the mountains. It grew up high above the roots of samsara, and if it wanted to speak it would find no one who could understand, so high has it grown. Yet it continually waits and waits. And for what does it wait? Could it be that it waits for the new dawn? That ineffable luminous light that will one day set it free like lightning?" Upon hearing this the young man cried out, "Yes, it is true. I desired the destruction of my former ways when I contemplated the heights of the unborn. And you are the lightning for which I have been waiting. And yet behold, what am I now? Is it not envy of you which has destroyed me?" Thus said the young man and wept bitterly. Vairocana put his arm around the young man and drew him along as they walked. After walking for a while, Vairocana began to speak thus. "Remember that for most, the way of the unborn is not attainable through quick methods but rather like that tree, through small spurts of growth. Like the old cliché, one day at a time. It is only through much success and failure that the light of perfect insight will begin to break through to increased faith and thus the next step. You are not yet free, my son, because you still search for freedom. Your search is draining you of energy, and the lower instincts of your former self are also longing for freedom. Hence the ongoing tension. They are like fierce and angry wolves howling in the depths of their dark den, while your true unborn spirit also aspires to break through and empower you to use that unbridled energy each day, just turning about the awareness of mind on the essence of itself and studying it as it is. Remembering that to do so is not different from that energy you invest transforming each day what you consider to be ordinary things, thoughts and emotions. In such a manner, in the years to come it will be like having the eyes of that tree which had seen truths thus coming and thus going beyond its wildest imagination. The free man of the unborn, too, must still purify himself. Much of the rottenness of samsara still remains in him. His Dharma eye, the eye of the dragon, still has to become pure. Yes, I know your struggle, but I entreat you wholeheartedly. Do not reject your love and hope in the unborn mind. Thus spoke Vairocana.